We are living in a new era, the deepest technological revolution in human history.
Hello, good morning everyone, and welcome to Industry City It's a Wrap. So for the next 30 minutes, we're going to spend some time just discussing what's happened on the Industry City stage, which is over there just in Hall 4. We created Industry City as a way to broaden the appeal of the event to other sectors and other industries. So over the last 3 days, we've had a host of different speakers come up on stage and talk about the benefits of mobile and how mobile is transforming their industry. On Monday, we had Manufacturing Summit, where we discussed a whole host of topics. Tuesday was Fintech, and then yesterday was Smart Mobility. And in all of those sessions, we tried to make them so that we could demonstrate the business benefit of how you can use mobile technologies to transform different sectors. So today I've got a panel from our partners who are hopefully going to share their thoughts for over the last 3 days and give you some insight into some of those key trends. So just on the left-hand side, we have Jefferson Wang from Accenture. And Accenture are our knowledge partner, and they spent quite a lot of time helping us shape what the program looks like and the key topics that we should focus on. Then we have Nicola Cordon, the Global Head of Trade Sales from JP Morgan. We have Paul Budoff from NTT, sorry. And we have Sven, and I might allow you to try and pronounce your own surname because I'm going to get it wrong.
Eckhart, you did so well before.
I got it. I knew I had it right earlier on, but it didn't quite happen like that. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick overview of some thoughts around the whole week. We'll then delve into each of the different areas and then see what some of the big takeaways are. But just so we got some stats, because I know that Jeff from Accenture is going to go next. Over the last 3 days, we had over 4,500 people attend the sessions. We had over 100 speakers, which is staggering considering all of the things which are going on at MWC today. So with that, Jeff, I'd just like to start with you and just ask you, in terms of the event itself, you know, what's been some of your key highlights from the week on Industry City?
Yeah, lots. I mean, I think the first thing is that Industry Cities for us is just the most incredible venue, right? I mean, I think that within the industry of technology and comms, you know, I've been in comms for, I don't know, over 20 years. And for us, every new evolution is extremely exciting, right? Every time we get 10 years up and we see 5G, 6G and everything, we get very excited. But this is the first time we're actually taking that outside industries in a more form than just SIM cards, smartphones, and a megabyte. And really trying to actually broadcast and clarify the value of that to all these different industries of manufacturing, of financial services, of the redefinition of mobility is really exciting. So I think that the first takeaway is just that what an incredible moment to actually have the network connectivity story at the center of digital transformation across all these industries that we're working with. I think the second big takeaway is that I don't know if everybody knows how much work the GSMA puts into this, specifically for Industry City, and of course the whole show, but you know, Accenture got to backstage kind of sneak preview of this, and we got to see, as the knowledge partner, how much work that is put into this. It's incredible, the amount of research that goes in, the synthesis that happens, all of the nights and weekends, because you pulled us into some of those, and it was wonderful, but it was also, we got to see how hard it is. So just seeing how difficult it is to actually bring these messages out was the second big takeaway. And I think the third big takeaway is just looking at the 4 days of Industry Cities, what did we really find, right? So day one was manufacturing, and just bringing the industry knowledge of how difficult manufacturing is. You've got changes with the flexibility of the production line, that's incredibly important. The need to run more shifts in a 24-hour period. How do you actually make sure workers are safe and connected? How do you make sure the product quality is there? And then just applying that to how 5G can actually help and benefit and look different than technology that you have today with Wi-Fi or other technologies. And then on day two, when we went into FinTech, that was really incredible to see the breadth of financial services, to be able to see that how do we apply technology across things like banking and reimagining the brick and mortar stores and the banks, all the way to crypto and blockchain, and just seeing everything in between on wealth management, loan services. How do we think about actually supporting that industry differently? And then mobility, the entire new definition of mobility. When I grew up, mobility was like a phone that I could go past my driveway on, and all of a sudden I was mobile. But now this definition of mobility on how do we keep people safe, how do we keep people working with the actual automated guided vehicles, and how do we redefine mobility on day three? And I just finished day four, which was how do we wrap all of this together with this talent pool, right? So it's not a shortage of people, but it's a war for the right talent. And you really have choices behind this. This is either you find the talent and actually recruit them, bring them in and engage them, or you become a talent creator. And that was kind of the big themes that we talked about. So, I mean, for us at Accenture, it's an incredible opportunity. We really appreciate GSMA's partnership and really love being the knowledge partner.
No, thanks very much. And just one final question. Accenture, right in the heart of Industry City, obviously next to the likes of Airbus, Harman, and all of those guys. What's it been like being part of that area where there's all of the industry sections come together?
Yeah, it's been incredible. It was a really, really strategic location for us that, I've been coming here since, 2005, since we moved to Barcelona, right? And since we moved to FIA Gran Via, where you've got these halls that are in succession, it's incredible to walk past and see the progression of all of the show. But Hall 4 was always very special. Back in the day, it was where the keynotes were happening, and it was kind of where you really wanted to be. And now you turn right and you see Accenture, and it's incredible to be in the heart and the center of the amazing industries and the transformation that each of the industries are going through. So it's really been important for us to try and bring our full power of Accenture to support these industries, because although communications and media is a very large practice for us, there's 18 other industries that Accenture supports, across financial services to manufacturing, industrial, to automotives, and all the other different industries. So it's really important for us to be at the heart of that, and we're really appreciative of that.
Oh, thank you. So Paul, we kicked off day one, and it was manufacturing.
We did.
And we talked about how 5G technologies were transforming the manufacturing sector and all those things, and how that it was being used for safety and efficiency, and how we were how the mobile technologies were enabling cost efficiencies that could be delivered. From your perspective at MWC, what have you seen in that area that was interesting?
I think when you walk around here and you ask any question to someone in manufacturing, the invariable answer is private 5G. It's just become ubiquitous. There's so many applications that are now possible, or that we're discovering every day, that are now possible because of the technology, because of reliable connectivity that wasn't really here before private 5G became as ubiquitous as we're seeing it. You mentioned, and ubiquity I think is really important too when we talk about compute, right? Manufacturing has become very comfortable with cloud computing and how it can utilize cloud computing to find innovation and find efficiencies and cost efficiencies. But we're seeing with private 5G the need to bring the compute back to the factory, back to the manufacturing floor. And with that come a whole host of new applications that we're all working on together to come and sort of provide both financial efficiencies, but I think also sustainability, which is another sort of theme that we're really seeing become a focus and a value prop that private 5G is allowing. We're seeing applications that allow for workers to not need to travel as far, workers being able to do more with less, and really that's what manufacturing is looking for, right? It's looking for efficiencies. It's looking for ways to get an ROI on the investments that they're making. And I think that's really why we're all here, is to share our ideas and come together and realize what all of this 20 years of innovation has allowed us to, right?
Yeah, that's cool. And obviously Monday was a busy day. Kicked it off quite a few numbers. It was standing room only, I remember. But in terms of the summit itself, what were the key themes and takeaways that you had?
It's interesting, but I would say that private 5G, connectivity, sustainability, without those, there's no reason there's no further you need to look, really.
Yeah. Okay. And then Nicola, we went into day 2. Fintech, JP Morgan was our partner working on it, and obviously it's great to have a bank come, and I'd probably like to explore with you, what thoughts you had around that.
What are you doing here?
But we looked at a number of the key topics, so how fraud was causing issues and how mobile could protect that. Payments are being transformed with mobile technologies, and how the market's being disrupted by the introduction of mobile kind of capabilities. So, yeah, just wondered from the day, what your thoughts were in terms of the summit itself and maybe some of the key themes.
Yeah, as you rightly say, right, this isn't necessarily a bank's natural habitat.
Yeah.
I have learned more, I think, this week than I've ever learned in 4 days flat in my life before. But it's funny, Jefferson's talking about, that he learned from it, that he got something from it in terms of how 5G and connectivity can support finance. My lesson was almost the other way around. I had not realized, I think I knew in theory, but I had not understood in practice until this week just how much the entire digital ecosystem depends on that payments infrastructure. Mm-hmm. You cannot have a digital economy if you can't move the money. Yeah. And increasingly, this conversation around embedded finance and how you want to capture the consumer, you want to keep them in your technology ecosystem. In order to do that, you want them to be able to pay without having to leave.
Or switch apps or different experiences.
Exactly, and so that creates a wonderfully smooth and sticky consumer experience, but it creates all kinds of exciting new problems. If you're a telco or a network operator, you want to be the one owning that ecosystem, because guess what? Now you've got to worry about multi-currency payout. You've got to worry about whether you're handling third-party money if you're running a marketplace. You have to worry about all these things, regulations that never really touched on your business before. So that's incredibly interesting. And I think the rise of marketplaces as a financial inclusion tool, to your point, that creates opportunities for small companies to engage in commerce and e-commerce that just never existed before. Incredible. But again, if you're the host, you've got to deal with all the infrastructure that comes with that. So embedded finance and the rise of marketplaces have been an amazing highlight for me, what I've learned around that this week. And I guess the kind of exciting new kid on the block around that is that the more you digitize these flows and the more you build them into the digital ecosystem, then you can start playing around with cool new stuff like programmable payments. And suddenly you can move money 24/7, you can automate your payment flows, and everything becomes possible in a way that it just was not even 12 months ago.
That's very interesting. And, Jeff, from your perspective, that finance sector transformation in fraud protection and all those things, the role that mobile can play.
Yeah.
Did you pick much up? I know you were in one of the first sessions.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, I thought fintech was super interesting because, if you look at you just mentioned fraud, right? Just fraud alone from a consumer perspective, this is a $410 trillion problem over the next 10 years. And we all suffer from that. It's higher prices on consumer goods, it's multi-authentication, it's more friction to the process that is stopping the flow of commerce. So how can we as a communications industry help you as the finance industry solve some of those?
Right.
Sending you things like, if Richard's SIM card hasn't changed for 2 years, if the location that he's always made a digital transaction on is the exact same, if the time of day is the exact same, and his IMEI on his phone hasn't changed, those are signals that go to the payment processors, the credit card industries, that increase that this is not a fraudulent activity, right?
Yeah.
Even just basic things like that on sharing network APIs across that is one of the things we saw that was a really good opportunity. And then if you take this a couple steps further on, if we move to a blockchain, crypto, and Web3, how does payments change? How does embedded commerce change? You mentioned that, we had a nice talk on day 2 around what does this look like in a smart contract world,
Yep.
right? When we get to that, and we have to prepare for that now because those are all 18 to 24 months to build out. So fintech was really cool. And also, what's really cool is that mobile has been in fintech for a very long time. Right, I mean, we've been doing mobile payments, we've unlocked mobile banking apps on the mobile device for a long time, and now we're just starting to really evolve it. So it's really cool to see it.
Yeah, that is. So then, day 3, we had smart mobility. Smart mobility, we went from everything from logistics through to vehicles, through to drones, and then the future of things like the metaverse. But the one thing it did have, it added another dimension to Industry City. Not only do we have the stage where we bring all of those people together and discuss those key topics, we have the area where people can go around and touch and feel the technology, but we actually had our first product launch, didn't we? So Sven, could you just share a bit around what you guys did on stage?
Yeah, it was a great moment for us actually as Cariad and as a Volkswagen group, having the keynote on that day and being able to talk about a world launch here in Barcelona, live on stage, having the actual product sitting next to it and taking off the sheet and basically introducing a brand new application store that we created as Cariad together with Harman that is being rolled out to Audi cars as of July this year. Going to cars in Europe, United States, and then also into a global rollout, which is the first new step of Cariad being the software powerhouse within the Volkswagen Group of an entire infotainment strategy and actually bringing new products in front of customers that kind of underline this idea of the car becoming a connected device. So it's a paradigm shift for us and definitely something that we believe is perfect spot to be at MWC to announce something like this. We're super excited about that.
No, and thank you for doing that. It was absolutely fantastic. And as I said, it added a very a new dimension to what could be done in a MWC, maybe 24 if anybody's got any ideas. In terms of the key things.
Instead of a racing track around.
Yeah. I did actually try to do that once. They said might knock somebody over. So in terms of the key themes from the day, was there anything which really stood out to you?
I think, first of all, we have to say we feel very welcome here, sort of being the car guys and maybe, seeing a lot of telecommunications, but also people from various industries coming together. I think the industry stage was a great example of how those industries, different notions, different types of partnerships are converging. And us as sort of being people who are coming from the manufacturing side originally, but now as Cariad being a software company within Volkswagen and taking it very, very serious on what do we actually bring in front of our customers in the future in terms of digital services and making something like the application store a centerpiece of, hey, bring all the services you love and cherish to your car in an embedded experience, ready to use, be it Spotify or we have TikTok, we have Amazon, we have loads and loads of content now being available in the car, and this somewhat becoming a smartphone on wheels, but even going hopefully beyond that and embracing that use case and saying, hey, I have a perfect speaker system, I have these huge screens now, I'm traveling somewhere, and that can actually mean that content, connectivity, telecommunications are coming together in a different way in the car. So super excited about that, and we think that that's just the beginning, and that shows like this are somewhat becoming the perfect floor for car companies such as the Volkswagen Group to really, really embrace those developments. And so for us, it's really smart mobility is something like autonomous driving, V2X, so vehicle to anything communication, and all those developments that we're seeing right now, plus all the different aspects that were shown on the day, be it on drones, be it on 5G and other elements. That's something that is the perfect match to what we're doing in the industry as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to go off a little bit off script here, so please bear with me, and I'll probably get in trouble for it afterwards. But you said something really interesting when you were talking about it. You were saying it's a place where everybody comes together in that intersection, and I just wondered whether you had any thoughts. Maybe you could elaborate on that a bit, and I'll probably come down the line and just ask for the various different opinions because you're all in slightly different positions within that ecosystem.
So I was at Mobile World Congress already at way back. I'm older than I look, and those were the days of sort of mobile was the hype, and people were giving out phones for free, and it was just you're starting to realize hey, this is super important, and this will open up an entirely new world. And what we're seeing now as the vehicle becoming a connected device, that we're probably at that point where mobile was 10 years ago plus. So for us, things are rapidly changing, and having that intersection between different industries, we have completely new types of partnerships now, us partnering with TikTok or IBM or other tech companies, and obviously our friends at Harman that are showing the actual cockpit and the App Store experience. That is the melting pot that we're looking for as we're an automotive manufacturer opening up to loads and loads of services and partnerships in and outside the vehicle. So I think that's just a great symbol that MWC is a perfect place, because all the players that are working on different parts of that are in one location. So we love this.
That's fantastic. And Paul, you're right in the heart of it with the solutions you produce.
I want to echo that exactly. So we are in Hall 4 here, but if you walk around, you're going to see all of the major hyperscalers, you're going to see all the major tech players coming together to build partnerships around the communication tools that we're all using today to deliver to our clients, to our customers, innovation, to deliver efficiencies that are needed as we move forward. We're seeing in manufacturing, in areas like oil and gas, in automotive, in basic manufacturing of basic goods, the same themes coming over and over and over again. And to deliver on the needs of multiple verticals, all of us need to partner together to better serve that, right? So NTT is working directly with Schneider Electric, with Microsoft, with VMware, to build sort of these edge tools, to build the connectivity, to build IoT, to connect the world, to connect our clients to their customers and move things forward, yes.
Yeah. I like that point a lot, and I'll give you a slightly more depressing take on it. But the intersection of the different industries has also been something that I've really taken away from this event. And this is an amazing place where you can talk to people from every end of the supply chain all the way along. And one thing that has come out of this as well, you walk the floor at MWC and you think you're living in the future. There's this kind of beautiful utopian new solutions on every corner. But actually, we've just been through a period, we are still in a period of massive disruption in the technology supply chain. And a lot of these partnerships are forming for survival as well as for sort of exciting, optimistic, futuristic things. And I've been involved in some really interesting discussions over the last few days where different parties in the tech supply chain and the mobile supply chain are coming together. And they're trying to come up with solutions for these massive, we've just been through the semiconductor shortage, the tech companies trying to outbid the automotives, and now that's going directly in the opposite direction. Everybody's under stress in the supply chain. Everybody's trying to come up with new ways of generating working capital to be able to support longer payment terms, to compete better, to attract new customers. And that requires finance, which is where JP Morgan comes in. But that conversation with multiple parties in one supply chain, that's a conversation you can have in person at MWC, and I think nowhere else.
Great comment, thank you. Jeff?
I think that there's probably a couple different ways to look at how this is coming together. You can look at it from a kind of ecosystem perspective, you can look at it from a technology perspective, you can look at it from a business perspective. And if you just kind of pick one of these tectonic themes, let's say tech, right? And you look at kind of what's evolving, that absolutely next generation connectivity is the basic foundation of digital transformation that's happening. Now you move up one layer from that and you kind of look at, okay, well, what's happening with compute and storage, and actually you think about how cloud is now moving from centralized compute to edge, but there is a compute and storage evolution that's happening. And then you go one layer above that and you see what's happening with data, and how do you figure out how to unlock the value of data across all these places, and then move to a more automated situation with AI. Then there's a whole piece happening there. And then above that on distribution, on an app store or a marketplace, or how you get that out, that's the exposure layer to actually the rest of the industry. So even the tech stack itself, we're in the middle of this giant, not one layer is evolving, every single layer is evolving. It's exciting, but it's scary. There's decisions that are made in each one of those that will define winners and losers. For example, if you just even look at private wireless, right? Trying to define what private wireless is and how it's different than Wi-Fi 6, to us is not hard on unlicensed spectrum versus licensed spectrum, but to a manufacturing plant, it's very hard, because they just spent $25 million for their IT system on Wi-Fi, and they're saying, like, I just spent a ton of money on this. What are you talking about, private 5G? What is this? Why do I need this? And you have to explain how licensed spectrum is different. You have to explain how it's reliable, it's secure in those pieces. But there's an education process in just that. In cloud, the same thing, right? We're now looking at multi-cloud environments, but who's going to orchestrate across 3 clouds? These are decisions that need advisory, that it needs really good depth of knowledge, because if you make the wrong one, you actually cut off the rest of the stack. I think the other big point is, now if you look at the convergence of the industries, which is really cool to hear you guys talk about, because we've been describing this as an industry of one, that eventually we will evolve and converge to an industry of one. And what that means is that even if you look at JP Morgan Chase and VW Group, how payments are evolving is going to play very closely to how C-Fee to X moves forward. So when you have a autonomous vehicle, L4, L5, let's eventually get there, but now you've got payments directly embedded into it, as you talked about. And now as you're moving through the city, you don't need to stop, place an order, make the payment, move on. You're naturally seamlessly moving from that. So these industries collide, where there's connectivity to the payment structure, to the actual evolution of mobility. So I think there's that other piece of it where you have this convergence of industries. And I think the last one is really kind of these business areas that we have to think about. These are big human problems that we're talking about. And if you start at that level, and you start at big human problems, that's another way to solve this puzzle. Any one of those 3 can kind of create this revolution, and you're seeing it happen in all 3, but the business problems are the easiest ones to start with, because we relate to those business problems. And then you can decompose what tech stack you need and decisions you make, and then you can decompose what ecosystems you need to put together. But that's how Accenture kind of thinks through these big problems, because it's really easy to get lost in just one of these layers, like, oh, 5G is really shiny. Well, how are you going to impact all these other pieces? Or we've got this big business problem, but I have no idea how to unlock the ecosystem behind it without channel conflict. So I think that's the really exciting part about industry cities. In my opinion, it's the best place for all of mobility and the industries to come together. I think that's words have happened, and we're just really excited to be part of it.
Oh, thanks very much. So we've only got a couple of minutes left. I think just maybe run along the table. Any final last thoughts you want to share? Just while you think about it, for me, the big takeaway was that this is so much more than a mobile event now. It's got mobile in the title, but I think, certainly over 40% of the speakers are from another sector, and the attendees last year were over 50% from outside of this ecosystem. So I think that just aligns to the story that you've all been delivering. So maybe start from Sven, coming along the line in terms of any final thoughts.
I think we're just going to do all our global launches now at MWC. No?
Oh, I like the sound of that.
No, but the feedback that we got from this was excellent. And sort of like browsing through LinkedIn this morning and also getting the press reviews and stuff of like, okay, how did the launch go? Did people notice? And it made a huge splash, and I think that's also made basically gave us the confirmation that MWC and having this here and sort of giving it a bit of a climax, and then having the actual product in front of people in this great setting in Barcelona, and this converging technology bit was a perfect choice for us, and now we're looking forward to actually driving around those new Audis from July onwards with the cool tech in it, and the App Store, and yeah, we're going to be back, that's for sure.
Thanks very much, Paul.
From our perspective, I think this is not a mobile conference as much as a people conference, right? We haven't seen each other for 3 years, and we could all come here to Barcelona, see our clients from not just the mobile industry, but the manufacturing industry, the automotive industry, the finance industry, and beyond that. And I think that has given NTT at least the opportunity to use Mobile World Congress to make those connections with people again. And I think that's been really valuable.
Yep.
Fantastic.
I think really for me, it's JP Morgan as a finance company, fintech is an utterly embedded part of this ecosystem now, and it's only getting more embedded. Payments is mobility, mobility is payments, and that's how these ecosystems are going to develop.
Fantastic.
I think from an Accenture perspective, it's incredibly important to bring our technology experience to help make those decisions and help clients support that, to bring the actual system integration together, to be able to actually build and realize some of these things, and then finally have kind of the industry and business acumen to be able to make these new markets, which is exciting for us.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. And thank you to all of the partners and sponsors that helped us make Industry City happen. If anybody's interested in finding out more, any of the sessions, they'll be available in the MWC app and also on the GSMA website, so please do come and search us out. And I think it just leaves me to say thanks again to everybody and hopefully see you in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.